What's up, guys? Kishan here, back at you with another alternate universe. What if? And this will be part two of not what if Deku was the Kindle one from Dark Souls 1. Now, I'm just going to pretty much get with new details, but I'm gonna leave a quick recap, pretty much as we left out. Deku pretty much ended up back in his universe, and pretty much you could say killed a person that was hurting Toga and met up with her. And they hid back to the house and kind of had a night with each other. Now, let's get with the new parts. Now, back into the other, back into the other dimension, you could say. Other dimension, the Dark Souls, Dark Dimension. The Firekeeper is, by the bonfire, pretty much looking, and thinking to herself, well, since her tongue is cut off, thinking to herself, where did he go? And the sun is, you could say the sun is slowly disappearing. Now, this is where you could say Gwendolyn, she begins to hold her stomach because she has Deku's child. Pretty much happy that she has a child. It's Deku. Well, it's Deku, but this is where characters and stuff begins to teleport to the My Hero Academia. First begins with the Firekeeper, and then the other Firekeeper, and then Gwendolyn. She begins to gets teleported, and also her sister. Now, some of the Silver Knights get teleported too, and we're gonna say some demons and stuff begins to get teleported, and Sunlight Gale. He begins Celea. He begins to get teleported, and Siegward. He gets teleported too. Now they get teleported, including the Armorsmith. He gets teleported, and they end up in the My Hero. But they're kind of all in separate locations, including the Silver Knights. They're with Gwendolyn and his sister now. This is where Gwendolyn begins to feel that her magic is gaining back, or her power is getting stronger than ever before, since they don't have no logic in this My Hero Academia, so their power is just getting broken. Now this is where Gwendolyn, she creates the whole castle and stuff and reforms it all back together. And you could say work her magic and create some more sunlight, lights and stuff. And begins to sense that Deku is here. That she's saying, Now this is where the Firekeeper, you could say at the forest, begins to look around the city. And she can't speak to anyone, so she's just looking around, confused and scared. Now, this is where Deku and Toga begins to get back dressed and talk to each other, and this is where Deku says, "I'll come and see you later," which Toga says, "Yeah," and smiles. Now, this is where Deku is heading and about to head to his mom's house until he sees the Firekeeper. Now, he runs to her and sees her and says, "How are you here?" Which she doesn't know. Which she basically does. We're gonna say she knows a little bit of some sign language, and begins to say she doesn't know. Which Deku says, and he does his sign language, just saying, so you don't know." Which they begin to have their conversation, talk and stuff. Which she's pretty much saying she doesn't know, like, where to do or what to stay. She's not bound by the bonfire. Like, there's no bonfire here or anything, so she doesn't know what to do. Which Deku says, "Well, come with me. My mom will probably let you stay at her house for a while until you can do something." Which she says okay. Now they're walking together, pretty much talking. And this is where Deku heads to his mom's. Now this is where Deku knocks on the door, and Iko begins to open up the door and says, "Who is it?" And she sees her son. Because we're gonna say she recognized her child. And she begins to cry and say, "Deku? Is that you?" And runs up and hugs him, saying, You was dead. We buried." Which Deku was saying, "Yeah, I know I was dead and stuff," and begins to talk to his mom. Now, this is where he introduces her to the Firekeeper and explains what happened and stuff. And Inko was saying, "So you died, but you went to a different world and stuff." Which Deku was saying, "Yeah, I went to a different world and I was fighting there and stuff, and got the scar. You see fit." And we're gonna say his scar is kind of like Berserker scar, but not with the whole one eye thing, but just looking kind of like that scar. Now, Inko was saying, "Well, are you gonna come? Are you like, are you fine? Like, do you need anything to eat?" Which Deku says, "No, I'm fine, but can you please prepare some food and stuff?" Which she begins to do sign language, and Inko looks and says, "Oh, she's yeah, her tongue got cut off, but maybe I can like call father to see that he can get her a new tongue." Which Inko says, "Yeah, I think we can call him for that." Which Deku says, "Cool." Now, as Inko preparing food, this is where you could say one of the Silver Knights are walking around, and stuff, the city and stuff. And this is where one of them is looking for Deku because Gwendolyn, female Gwendolyn, gave orders to find her husband. You could say her husband, because to talk to him. Now, as we're gonna say only 3 Silver Knights is going to look around, looking for Deku. And this is where. Alright, sorry about that. Let's continue. But pretty much, we're gonna say the Silver Knights are looking for Deku. As they're looking for Deku, they pretty much, you could say, is looking around and stuff. And they have their armor and sword and stuff, and they're just walking around. Now, people are looking at them, but they're not questioning stuff. Now, this is where we're gonna say one of the villains is doing a big robbery and stuff, and the Silver Knight, we're gonna say, goes in there, and this is where the guy says, "No one moves," and he said, "Especially you with your weird knight self, don't move in." The Silver Knight's a little bit taller than usual. You could say he's taller than any of the usual, and it's just looking, which it doesn't see that. Now, this is where the guy fires a couple bullets at the Silver Knight, and this is where the Silver Knight turns around and he begins to do a shield, which the bullets are not piercing his arm, but he turns around in this case, the shield. If he begins to walk very slowly at him. Now, this is the guy, Robert, saying, "What the hell?" Well, the villain. This says, "What the hell?" And he begins, this is where the Silver Knight slashes down and cuts the Robert in half, pretty much in pieces. And he begins to walk away, pretty much cleaning off the sword and walking away, which everybody is screaming, but the Silver Knight is not. Now, as they're looking for Deku, we switch back to Deku. Now, Deku is pretty much saying, uh, "Mom, I'm going to, go to UA and try to go there," which Inko says, "Are you sure you want to go back? Like, you just came back here and stuff. Like, ain't you want to see what's new and stuff?" Which Deku says, "Nah, it's okay, Mom." He begins to head to the entrance exams. Now, as he's heading to the entrance exams, this is where he begins to, you could say, wear regular clothes and looking down, and he's thinking to the other world, and what happened to his wizard friend, you could say. I forgot his name, but pretty much he remembers him going mad and stuff, and he was learning crystal spells and stuff from him before he went mad and he had to kill him. And he's saying, if only I knew that would," which he's bummed has stuff about it. Now, this is where Siegward, this is where, as Deku's walking to the entrance, he sees Siegward, and Siegward is pretty much, you could say, is sitting down and pretty much thinking to himself, and he's saying, Now, this is where Deku says Siegward, which Siegward says, "Ah, Deku, what are you, doing here? I got myself quite in a pickle. Well, yes, quite in a pickle. I don't know how I got here." Which Deku says, "If you're here, that means Other people, other people might be here too. Which this is where Secret says, "Ah, quite so." But anyways, what is this place? Which this is where Deku is explaining to him and says, "Listen, I'll explain to you later, but just make sure to just look at this address and just go to it." And Siegward says, I try." He begins to head off, going with his onion armor set. Which imagine him going around the city with onion armor. It's pretty funny. Now, Deku begins to head into the entrance and he takes a seat, which this is where he sees Bakugo. Now, Bakugo, he's shocked that he sees Deku alive. And he's about to say something to him. They're already starting to think, so everybody has to be quiet. Now, for everything, Deku pretty much passes with ease because, like I said, 99 everything. So, broken. Now, as Deku pretty much is going. Sorry. As Deku's pretty much going for the robot's thing, this is where Bakugo comes aside and says, "Deku, is that really you?" Which Deku says, "As you see, flesh and blood." "Why? You expecting to see a ghost?" "No." Bakugo looks at Deku. Deku has longer hair, and he has scars. And he had scars on his hands too. Now, this is where he's asking what happened to Deku, which Deku says, "Would you like to know?" And pretty much just go do the robot thing. Now, everybody's doing their own thing, and Deku, he begins to, conjure up a staff part, and we're gonna say the staff is kind of a merged staff, so it can do faith spells. It's a bell, and this bell can do faith spells all the way up to magic spells, all the way up to, buffing. Now, this is where Deku pulls out a familiar sword. We're gonna say the machete sword, the further sword, and he begins to buff it with the moonlight spell. Now, this is where he shoots some magic crystals, sage crystals, and fires at robots and stuff. He begins to slice robots left and right and stuff, and since he has the backflip ring on, and we're gonna say he has 5 slots, so he has 5. Since he has the backflip ring on, he begins to do backflips and slash and stuff and forward flips and all that. Now, this is where Deku pulls out the fire hand and he does the scorch the knife thing, and he begins to summon knives that pierces robots stuff. Now, he thinks he's done until he sees the 0 point robot. Now, the 0 point robot pretty much looks at going, and this is where Deku hears a scream into a rock. This is where Deku pretty much says and pulls out the staff. Now, this is where he lifts up the staff and wanders up around, and he creates you could say, the dark finish spear, and he fires it at the 0 point robot, which it hits the robot, and the robot blows up. Well, you could say blows up. Now, Deku pretty much just make the staff disappears and picks up a rocket axe, so she's alright. Which she says, yeah. Now, that's where he goes. You could say leaves and goes. Now, as Deku going home, this is where he sees Siegward just finally coming in and saying, "Ah, Zuko, there you are. I was quite lost around here." Which Deku is saying, Siegward, he was always like this. Even when he was trying to find out how to open up that thing, he always was a guy who takes his time. Which I know why he was taking your time. You're afraid of going hollowing. Which Siegward's saying, So you do know. So you know about my condition. Which Deku says, yeah, I know, but I don't think you're going to be going hollow. Which Siegward says, you might say. Now, as Deku, as Deku is basically going, as Deku and Siegward's going in the house, this is where We're gonna say Falcon, but we're gonna say the one with the gold armor with the hands. You're gonna say that armor is pretty much he's looking at the house saying the firekeeper's in there. I need to get her soul for her. Now this is where everybody is in the house and stuff, and Inko's asking who's this guy, which this is where Deku says, "Oh, this is Siegward, the Calendar Knight," and Siegward begins to explain his stuff and all that, which Inko is saying, "Oh, now they're having their talk and stuff in their speech, which which pretty much Inko is saying, all right, now this is where the firekeeper comes down, and she has a new dress and stuff, and she begins to speak, and her speak is a little bit hard, but she begins to say, uh, hello Mizuku, and she says it a little bit weird, but Deku says, hey, now they're all sitting with each other and talking, which this is where Inko asks, how was the interest sim, which Deku says it's good. I think I passed. Now the next day, Deku gets an invitation to the school saying that he reached first place and he passed, which Deku is happy. You could say smiling, but not excited or like supercharged. Now, Deku begins to get dressed and saying he's going to be heading out, which Inko says okay, and she says be safe. Now, Deku begins to start heading to the UA Academy. UA Academy begins to think to himself, like, I can't believe I'm actually going to become a hero. Now, this is where he gets a call from Toga, and he says, oh hey, which Toga says, hey. Now, they're pretty much talking to each other on the phone while he's walking, and he says, I see you later at the cafe, which Toga says, yeah. Now, Deku begins to head inside, and he sees 1A. Now, he goes in there, and he sees Bakugo pretty much fighting with Ida, and they're pretty much having their battling about the whole right to desk and all that crap, which Deku is saying they're annoying. He begins to take a seat. Now, this is where Bakugo begins to put his feet down and begins to try to ask Deku questions of what happened to him and stuff. This is where everybody else comes in and starts introducing themselves and all that, which this is where Deku is just saying, my name is just Mizuki Midoriya, and that's all you're gonna get from me. Which, some of the girls think he's rude and stuff, but you could say some of the girls like the mystery out of him. But as that all happened, this is where Uraka thanks Deku again from, saving her life from the robot, which Deku says it's whatever, and begins to do his own thing. Now, Deku is about to open the book until Razorhead gets up and says, why y'all so damn loud? And he looks at the whole class, including Deku. Deku is the most different out of all of them. Now, this is where he's talking to them and talking to him and saying, everybody gets dressed. We're going to go and test out your quirks to see if y'all qualified to be in the classroom. Which, of course, says you can't do that until Razorhead looks at him and says, so do you want to be the first one to get kicked out of the school? Which, I'll be quiet. I'll be quiet. Now, they all heading out and stuff and going to the gyms and getting dressed in their gym uniform to get tested out. Until Deku takes off his shirt and stuff, and they see the scars on his legs. They see the scars, the scars on his legs and his arms and stuff. They see his body is scarred up, but they just see it's like big scars and stuff. So they're asking like what happened to him, which this is where Deku says, I've been into a lot of fighting, and I actually no, this is what he says. He says, I worked so hard that I got these scars. I pretty much puts on a gym uniform and heads out. Now, the girls see Deku and they see his scars and stuff, and they're pretty much curious of what happened to him. Now, everything happens the same, but Deku passes all of them except for the wall throw. You could say, gets in fourth or third, depends on the throw. Now, this is where uh, everybody passes, so no one gets kicked out. So yeah, everybody passes, no one gets kicked out. So we're going to do the hero versus villain arc now. Now Deku is pretty much sitting in the classroom, um, waiting for the next teacher while everybody else, having a conversation and talking and all that and all that stuff. Now this is where All Might comes in and says, "I am here," and everybody's excited for All Might, including Deku, because Deku never felt the soul rejection of you can't be a hero without Quirk and stuff, and had that speech with All Might because, like I said, Bakugo kicked Deku in the face to pretty much kill him. So as everybody's having to talk and stuff, Deku's pretty much decided that he had the see All Might. Now this is where All Might is playing the hero versus Moon Test, and everybody should get ready. Get ready. Which Deku says, all right. All the teams goes the same, and everything happens the same. Now the team against Uraka and Deku versus Bakugo. Now, as they head into the building, Deku starts to punch on his helmet and begins to walk slowly. And he has his shield. He has his, you could say, his spell by his side and his shield and his sword. And he has his parry dagger, ready to, pretty much getting ready to go. Now, this is where Uraka asks, like, how does he, bring out the weapons and stuff, and where do they come from? Which Deku is pretty much not talking to her, but he's basically saying, listen, I just tried Bakugo, just go get the bomb, and we can get this over with, which she says, okay. Pretty much looking down. Now, this is where Uraka takes a different escape route and starts heading to the bomb while Deku is walking. Now, Deku begins to pull out the dark hand, and the dark hand is pretty much, you could say it's dark hand. Now, Bakugo begins to come in with the explosions and stuff, and he has two of the dark hands. And he's pretty much walking slowly now. This is where Bakugo throws a massive explosion at Deku, and Deku begins to shield himself with dark hand. Now, Deku has a lot of stamina, so it's not going to break his guard or make him like hold back and take a breather. So he's pretty much saying, Bakugo, which is where Bakugo is pretty much saying, nerd. Now, this is where Deku is about to use Bakugo's guilt of killing him on his advantage, saying, Deku, Bakugo, or should I say, Kanshan, you really had to kill your friend who really looked up to you? You really had to push me off that roof and kill me? Which All Might is confused and trying to figure out what the hell is he talking about, which Bakugo is, shaking and looking down, saying it was an accident, which Deku begins to laugh and says, yeah, right, like it was an accident. You know exactly what you're doing. You kicked me, and the moment you kicked me off, I fell off the fence, and I died. Right there on the ground. The ground you're looking at. Which, the ground we'd be stepping on. I died because of you. I fell off this whole story building, which this is where Bakugo begins to look up and says, shut up! And throws a explosion. This is where Deku, you could say, parries. We're gonna say he can parry everything. Parries his explosion. Well, no, not parry his explosion. Pretty much, like, blocks the explosion from Bakugo. And when Bakugo's about to throw a hit at Deku, trying to throw a punch, this is where Deku parries his punch and grabs his face. And pretty much slams him to the wall. Slams him to the ground. This is where he does the extra slam of, and Bakugo coughs up blood and passes out. Which Deku gets back up and saying, so much as an accident, and begins to walk away. Now, this is where Uraka grabs the bomb and heroes win. Now, this is where All Might grabs Bakugo and brings him to the principal's office to see what the hell happened. Now, they're getting information. They know that Deku died, and he's pretty much, back to life, which they don't know how. And they figure out that Bakugo pretty much killed Deku, but they're going to keep it quiet. And Deku was pretty much in class with me and lunch, and all the girls were, you could say, uh, one of the girls were talking to him and trying to get to know him. And we're gonna say Momoshiki, but Deku, he's not trying to have a conversation with them at all. He's just trying to get his hero's license. And he pretty much looked out saying, now this is part one of what, not part one, I'm sorry, part two of What If Deku Was the Kindle One from Dark Souls 1. If you like, leave a comment, you know what to do. But I'm Keishan Chia, thanks for watching. And this is going to be the last video for today because it's a party coming soon and I gotta get prepared. But I'm Keishan Chia, thanks for watching and peace out.
It looks like you lost another one.